The dog days of summer, they sneak upon you, don't they? One minute you're planning for the 4th of July weekend and cutting up watermelon to have with dinner, to maybe going out for a ride on the lake after dinner. And the next thing, I'm noticing things like the morning sun just rises a little bit later, the crickets are a little bit louder, and that breeze, it has a little bit more of a cool feel to it. It's almost like summer is clearing its throat and just getting ready to say goodbye to us. And if you're in midlife like myself, these days aren't just about marking time, they're asking us something, aren't they? Who are you when the noise stops? What parts of yourself have you been too busy to notice? Hi, I'm Lori, and I help midlifers reconnect with the parts of themselves that have gotten buried under the busyness, not with hustle or hype, but with soulful tools, stories, and honest reflection. Midlife isn't the end of your story. It's where the real you finally gets to speak. And I remember learning early on what endings felt like. I grew up on an island, one of those places where summer meant everything. For 3 months, 2.5, 3 months out of the year, that place came alive. Kids ruled the days. Would scatter after breakfast like freed animals. Well, me, I actually babysat for the neighbors most days. I needed the money, wanted the independence, but boy, did I live for those nights. The second the sun started setting, I was out the door. We'd gather at the beach or somebody's cottage. We'd build bonfires, play music louder than we should have, tell stories that were always a bit exaggerated. But nobody asked who your parents were or what grade you got. You could just breathe. You could just be yourself without the weight of the school and just all the cliques pressing down on you. Even now, 40 years later, when my husband and I either go back to the island and grab a lobster roll, or just even if I close my eyes, sometimes I can still smell that, the mix of salt air, and freedom. But come mid-August, everything shifted back then. You could feel it. The days got a bit shorter. The air seemed to get thinner. Families started packing up. Each time they went home, they would bring something else home with them. And one by one, my friends would disappear, crossing that bridge back to their lives. See you next summer, they'd say. Like it was no big thing. It was casual for them. Because for them, it was just going home. But for me, it felt like watching prison gates. For the next 10 months, I felt like I had a life sentence until the next summer. And by Labor Day, the island turned literally into a ghost town, without exaggeration. My family stayed. We lived there year-round. There was only a handful of us that did. And after everybody left, when I'd walk those streets, it was so quiet. So quiet. And just weeks before, there'd be 30, 40, even 50 kids sometimes on the beach. After Labor Day, you'd only see my footprints. Kind of left that empty feeling, right? It left this ache right here. The silence was so loud it would hurt. All those houses, they became lifeless. So I know it was grief. I know that now. Grief for the girl I got to be over the summer. The one who didn't have to perform or prove anything to anybody. The one who could laugh a bit too loud, maybe dream a bit too much. I felt like she belonged somewhere. And you know what? I think for all of us, that young person is still inside of us, waiting for permission to come out. And you know what? And here's what I've learned after 5 decades of being on this planet. That summer girl, she never really left, right? She just got buried under mortgage payments, doctor's appointments, project deadlines, that never-ending silent to-do list. We all carry one. Did I pay that bill? Do I need to go to the grocery store? When's my next meeting? Did I get that email out? Did I give the dog her medicine? Does it sound familiar? So when these last weeks of summer roll around, right around now, for me, it's not about cramming one more day into the beach or getting that last book read that I had on my summer reading list, if you would, or planning that one more cookout. God knows we do not need any more to-do list. For me, it's about something quieter. What about you? What do you want to accomplish these last couple of weeks? Do you want to make those last couple of trips to the beach, have that one more family cookout? Maybe depending where you are, you have school shopping in front of you. That is behind me now. But I remember the days. I remember the days having to get everything ready for 3 kids before school started. Where are you in this period, in this season? It was funny. Yesterday I sat on my front steps with my cup of coffee and a neighbor was walking by, and I know she was just making small talk, and she's like, it must be nice that you have time to do that. And I had to laugh because I said to her, no, I don't have the time, but I'm still going to do it anyways. So she just laughed. But you know what? Here's what nobody tells you about midlife. You stop, I think when you get to this point in your life, you stop waiting for permission, right? You stop waiting for permission to rest, to choose differently. All you have to do is say, this matters to me. And even if it doesn't make sense to somebody else, it doesn't matter. Maybe for you, it's just 5 minutes with your hands in the dirt, if you like to garden the way I do. Maybe it's eating dinner one last time outside. I've shared that I have chickens and I go out to them every single morning. But I've started doing this thing very in the moment, if you would. I let them out every morning as I'm cleaning the coop and feeding them and filling everything. And they get to free range a little bit, but I just pause and stare at them. They get so excited every morning. It doesn't matter. It's just, for them, it's pure joy over the same damn thing every day. When's the last time we've felt like that? Joy over something ordinary, over something that doesn't have to be a big thing. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who also grew up on the island with me, after, let me think, 28 years, 29 years, she has become an empty nester a few weeks ago, mid-July or so. And we talk all the time, but she called me a couple weeks ago and she was a bit lost. It only been maybe 10 days that her son was no longer at home with her. And she didn't know who she was without the chaos, without someone always needing her or needing something from her. So we made this pact that at the end of every day, we would send each other one thing we were grateful for that day, just to kind of pull us back into the moment and kind of keep us grounded and present. And to be honest, I thought I was helping her. And you know what? It has helped me just as much. Just having me focus on what was one thing today that I did that I was really grateful for, that just made me smile. Yesterday, she had texted me, what'd she say? Morning coffee in silence, something like that. And today she wrote, went for a 20-mile bike ride. Actually, it really actually made me feel a little bit sad because she was always so active as kids. My goodness, she was always so active. And she sort of lost that. And I guess I didn't realize how much she had lost that. So let me ask, when was the last time you've done something that you haven't done in a while? When along the way in our life do we stop doing things that make us happy, that fill a need inside of us? I've been told you have to take time for yourself. You have to fill your well. Or when somebody comes to you and needs to take a drink from it, you'll have nothing to give them. You have to take care of yourself, no matter what it is. I'm not saying it has to be a big thing, but you need to find out what for you need to do, just to bring you back to the moment, to help you feel grounded, and to give you that, I guess, that life energy. We just all need something, a tiny bit of something, just to be a little bit rebellious against the blur of our life. And this isn't about having a perfect life. So let's just back up a minute, because I'm always saying we got to stop staring at everybody else's highlight reels. This is not about having a perfect life with time to spare. It's about stealing the moments back during our day, especially when life is full. We need to recharge ourselves. Here's what I want to leave you with. The ache that you might feel as summer winds down, the way I still feel it inside, it's not a weakness, right? I guess it's wisdom. It's the wisdom that your soul is saying, remember who you are underneath all of this, underneath all the noise. And you don't need to go to a retreat in Bali, or you don't need to journal for an hour or meditate for an hour. You just need small things. You need small things to remind you that you're not just a role, that you're not summed up just as your routines and your responsibilities. You are a human being, not a human doing. And that human being deserves to feel the sun on your face without feeling the guilt of doing that, or without checking to see what time it is. So I want you to commit something, not to me, but to yourself. Commit to doing one thing this week, one thing that makes you feel present. Maybe it's coffee in a real mug instead of a to-go cup. Maybe it's just a dance party in the kitchen while you're making dinner. Maybe it's saying no to one thing so you can say yes to nothing. Tell me in the comments, what's one moment you're going to steal back before summer slips away? And if you're the person who thinks you don't have time, well, then you're exactly the person who needs to do it most. And If you're curious, I always like to leave you with an AI hack. I did try asking chat the question was, what part of me thrives in the summer? And it said something about embracing spontaneity and wonder, which wasn't wrong. But I asked my chickens the same thing, the same question. And they just looked at me and they just kept pecking at the ground. And sometimes the answer isn't in the asking, it's in the doing or in the not doing. You'll know when you find it. Leave a note in the comments, friends. And until next time, remember, you are enough just the way you are. You are the hero of your own story. And I love you guys. Talk to you soon.